So one of the things you have to ask yourself when you kind of leave behind a church and become an atheist is, even if I think these things are all fake, why is it that like every culture everywhere invented gods? There's this really interesting explanation offered by the British writer John Higgs in a book he wrote called Our Pet Queen. And he talks about how early on in like evolution, we evolved to pay a lot of attention to things in nature that were symmetrical. The reason for this is that symmetry normally means that you're looking at a face. And a face is something you want to pay attention to if you're like out in the woods, because a face could be something to eat, it could be something that's hunting you, it could be a friend, it could be an enemy, or it could be someone that you could hook up with. So early on, humans started connecting things that were important to things that had faces. But there were things that didn't have faces that we also kind of viewed as really important. Things like, thunderstorms or blizzards or the ocean or war or volcanoes and earthquakes, and all of these things that had really devastating impacts on our lives, but which we couldn't put a face to. So by taking all of this chaos and putting a face onto it, and then putting that face into stories that said something about the world that we lived in, we were able to kind of like wrap our heads around a universe that was, chaotic and totally incomprehensible a lot of the time. So thinking of gods this way allowed us to have some sort of illusion of control over what was happening in the universe. So if we gave sacrifices and did rituals to certain gods, then we would get a nice rainy season and we'd get lots of crops. If we didn't get lots of crops, it was because we'd angered them in some way. So it was a way of kind of tricking ourselves into thinking we had more control over our environment than we really did. The reason I like this idea of what gods are is because it's better than the normal atheist thing of just like, people are stupid and they believe stupid things. It's like, no, actually, people are trying really hard to understand the universe. They've got kind of a limited ability to, and they've got certain mechanisms in their brain which think some things are more important than others, and so they mash those together to try and make sense of this like massive, totally incomprehensible universe. And that's way more fun and delightful to me. And it also opens up the ability for me to like decide there are certain gods that I want to pay more attention to, even if they're fake. I'm Matt Hirschberger, by the way. I write about facing a bleak world with hope, imagination, and curiosity. If that sounds like your thing, give me a follow.